If you've been in corporate America and you don't really have a background in health, how can you repurpose your skill set to create a powerful, soul satisfying career as a health coach? And why would someone like our guest, Terry Scrivano, who's had 30 years in business management, senior executive assistant to senior VPs of two Fortune 500 companies, leave all of that to create this incredible health coaching practice where she's doing meaningful lives? We're going to find out, what did it take? Why did she do it? What was the wake up call that led to this career shift? And what are some of the amazing results and rewards she's been getting from that? So, welcome, Terry.
Hi, Dr. Shaunna. Thanks so much for having me today.
I am so thrilled to speak with you. A lot of health coaches come to health coaching because they were a doctor like I was for 25 years, or a nurse. And but I know that there's a huge number of people who come at it for that. It's like the second half of life that is like so powerful, the best years ever. And so tell us a little bit about why did you leave all of that to become a health coach? Tell us a little bit about your story and how that happened.
Sure, I would love to. So I do think that I am where I am today, and this is my sole purpose. And when I think back to, wow, would I ever have been a health coach, would never even cross my mind.
Yeah.
Um, so a little bit about my story and kind of how I got here today. So, I mean, I've never really thought about health or eating right. I grew up in a house that really we never ate healthy, nutritiously. But you know what? When I think back, my parents did the best they could to get food on the table.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the way it was. But now, fast forward. So, um, about 7 years ago, I had lost my mom, and that really was what started, I think, my domino effect with everything that was going on in my life. So it had a profound effect on me, watching her go through the pain. And when I look back at that, now I see that a lot of that was caused from poor nutrition and being inactive. And while all of that was going on, I myself was struggling with my health. Um, so it really put me in a position to take a hard look at what was going on. So that's kind of where it all started. And at that point in my life, I was working in my corporate job, 30 years, um, not loving what I was doing anymore, stressed out, tired. I was at the heaviest weight I'd ever been. Not feeling good. 2 years prior to that, I was struck with Lyme disease, which turned into arthritis. So there I was, not doing well in any aspect of my life. So, seeing everything that went through with my mom, I thought, you know what, this is a good time for me to retire. So I left my corporate job, still not thinking I was going to be a health coach. So that actually gave me some time to spend with my dad at that time. So my dad was a few years older than my mom, also struggling with his health. Um, and so during that time, I started putting him on a diet, which, we laugh about today because my dad was all a steak and steak and potato guy. So, but in the process of doing that, I also started just thinking more about my health and eating better. So I started to put him in a exercise routine, and as I was doing all of that, I'm like, I don't know if it was my mom coming down to tell me something, but like it struck me like, this is something I want to do. And so that led me to pursue first certification in the fitness because I wanted to be able to help older people maybe not go through what my parents had gone through.
Tell me a little bit about, like, what did your parents go through? Like, they had what was specifically, like, what challenges did your mom have and that your dad had, that you're like, gosh, like, if I keep doing what I'm doing, I'm gonna be going down that same road. What were they struggling with?
So so much, so much. I mean, between heart problems, both overweight, so much inflammation. Neither of them. I mean, honestly, my dad, the last couple of years, could barely even leave his chair. He was so inflamed. And, we think about like when I look back now, that was all nutrition
Yeah.
and how we could have prevented that.
Over half of North Americans have at least one chronic disease. So for people who are listening to us here, they either have that situation for themselves personally, or their parents or family members do. Like, it's guaranteed that half of people have at least one chronic disease, whether it's high blood pressure, whether it's whether it's excess weight, whether it is, a stroke or TIAs or diabetes or blood sugar imbalances or joint pain or knee pain or back pain. It's everywhere. And you and I are here today to say it doesn't need to be that way. But it's
Right.
really hard because we also know that everybody's doing the best they can from where they are with what we got. When we grew up, when your parents grew up, things have been changing in the world so fast. And usually people will sacrifice their health for their career, which you were on a track to do as well, right? 30 years supporting these top Fortune 500 companies, doing your work at the expense of your own health, because it's what everybody else is doing. And my mom told me, just because everyone else is doing it doesn't make it right. But it is. And when you go into the grocery store and you get food, uh, like, a lot of it's toxic and inflammatory. And so, but you're so busy with your career that you don't have an opportunity to do that. And so, fortunately, you were at a position where you were able to retire. When you retired from your corporate career, was the plan to just chill, or was and retire, or was the plan to do some other job, a second career? What was your mindset at that point? Because I know you didn't plan to be a health coach, because who does? Because who would do that? But what was the mindset? What were you planning to do?
So, honestly, I didn't have a plan, and so that's why, like, I feel like it just all came together as I was helping my dad do these activities, and then thinking of my own self. Because at that point in time, I was struggling. I mean, I was overweight. I had been on every diet you could possibly think of. I think at that last year before I started all this, I tried my last diet. I think that was new. See, I mean, I must have spent hundreds of dollars, and I think I gained 2 or 3 pounds. Didn't even lose any weight. So thinking to myself, you know what, this is what I was meant to do. I'm going to go, I'm going to get my fitness certification. And then I wanted to follow up with the health coaching, but so I could help myself, because I knew there had to be an answer. I knew there had to be something out there that would get me in the right place and that I could also help others. So I started with the fitness certification and then got through that. Shortly after that is when I got my health coaching certification.
Had you lost your weight yet,
So
or
I was in the process. So I was
okay,
slowly getting there, right? The fitness was working, but it wasn't enough,
right?
right? And when I look back now, I know, like, it's not just fitness. There's
Right.
so much more to it. And um just being able to figure that all out on my own has just been transformative for myself.
Yeah, like, a lot of times the health coaching schools will teach you, your first client is you. Like, you
Yes.
gotta, if you first be the change you wish to see in the world. And that's how I
Yes.
started. Like, when I left my 25-year medical career to create a health coaching practice, um, I first had to, the reason I saw what was happening in the hospital and going, this is no good, just like you saw what was happening with your family, and they're like, this is no good. And then, like, how can we do something different? And I'm like, okay, we're just pinballing people from test to test. How can we get to the root of this? Then I found health coaching. I'm like, oh my goodness, there's people who do this. This is fantastic. But first be the change you wish to see in the world, as Gandhi said, right? So I had to go first because I was stressed out, mom of 4 kids, busy, like crazy medical practice, and I had excess weight. So I had to figure that out first. And so, like, and it sounds like you did that as well. And then you're like, I remember for me, I was like, it's not actually hard. Like, I struggled
Mhm.
for decades, but it's not actually hard. You just got to know what to do. And you kind of can't fall for the quick fixes, the fad diets, the trends. We make fun of them later, decades later. We make fun of the crazy things that people used to do, but then we do the crazy things right in the moment du
Right.
jour, right? So we're all on the low fat diet. Now we're on the low carb diet. Next one it'll be the low protein diet. Somebody can always say something about something, but it's more holistic. Or you see those exercise videos from, I don't know, maybe it was the 70s or so, with those belts, those vibrating belts that just deal
Yes,
with your
yes,
fat, like and just will
gosh,
it away. I'm like, we laugh at some of the things that people used to do, and then we continue to do those crazy things. And
right.
and we're going to talk more from your perspective how you did that. So was it so you went there because you're like, I want to learn more. I want to first learn how to lose my weight myself. One way to do that is to be able to learn the fitness and the health and nutrition information so I can do
Right,
this like for real the right way.
right.
And then is that when you lost the weight and you're like, okay, I got to give back? Is that kind of like the
Yes.
sequence of that?
100%. Yes. And like you pinned it right on the head when you said, like, it's amazing how easy it is when you really understand.
And it
Yeah.
feels like it should be hard if we struggled forever, but it's like,
Right.
like if the lights, if the room is dark, I mean, we can do all these things like patting all over the wall to try to get the lights on. But as soon as you just go click and turn the light switch on, or like, all right, that was easy. I keep this gives
I know.
right? Like, huh? So just
Yeah.
because we were like looking in the dark for the light switch doesn't mean it's hard to turn the switch on. And so and that's kind of why you're here, why you do the work that you do. Who is it that you're passionate about helping, Terry? Who has this evolved to that these are my people, these are the ones that I just
Yeah.
feel like on a mission to serve.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, so through all of that, because I've struggled, I really want to help women over 50 that are struggling through the navigation of diet after diet after diet. Um, not being able to when then once they lose being able to sustain. So I'm helping women over 50 basically. That's really what my niche is,
Yeah.
and helping them just gain back the confidence for them to be able to lose that weight and
Yeah.
keep it off.
Yeah, and we'll talk in a bit about some of the people that you've been working with, and to kind of give examples of when you get to the root cause, some of the ripple effects that happen there. What would you say is so when we're talking about women over 50 and losing weight? Okay, so your first success story, boom, you are your first success story, and then you've helped many others. But now, having helped people and seen so many people struggle, you probably have friends, family that are struggling as well. And you're like, and part of you definitely empathizes because you were once that person struggling as well with all of the things. And then you see the trajectory of what happens, when we don't address it and we just hope it gets better by default. Well, that doesn't end out very well. So, what would you say are some myths or what are people like struggling in the dark for? Like, you got the light switch, like it's here, do this. But what would you say are some of the false limiting beliefs or misconceptions that, let's say, especially women over 50 have when it comes to weight loss?
So many myths. And maybe to name a few, one I would say is that you have to starve yourself because that's the last thing you need to do is starve yourself, right? So, uh, personally, I mean, I thought the only way I could lose weight was to starve myself and just do more cardio, right? So, biggest myth, you got to starve yourself. Absolutely not the case. You need to feed yourself. You need to feed yourself nourishment, right? And then another myth is having to do endless cardio. Such a myth, right? It's not going to be it. Cutting out entire categories of food, a complete myth, right? I mean, I could go on and on and on about all the things that people feel they need to do to lose weight.
Okay, so those are some of the myths, and then of course, over 50. Certainly, there are other things
Mm,
like things that I used to be able to get away with in my 20s. Don't cut it in my 50s. So
right.
yes, so things changed there. So okay, that's what's not working. What would work? So like you're like, all right, Terry, if that doesn't work, if eating less and exercising more is not the answer, then what
Right.
is? I mean, because
Right.
that's what for years doctors used to say, eat less, exercise more. And then they're
Right.
trying it and they're like, why is this not working? So what would you
Right.
say? What is the solution then? What should
Yeah.
they do instead?
So I think there's a couple things. I think one is, every individual is different. So I think, that's where you would start. You would take that individual. And, I think back to my background as an executive assistant, and like my superpower was problem solving. And like, I feel like that's exactly what I like to do with my clients. Like, we need to dig deep and find out like the root cause, and everyone's different. So maybe it's just a matter of being consistent. Maybe it's a matter of just taking one little habit and changing that habit and being consistent. It could make such a big difference.
Yeah, the customizing it, being
Yes.
consistent,
Yes.
finding out getting to the root cause, problem solving. So what's not
Yes.
working? And you're
Right.
right, it's going to be different for everybody because some people are
Right.
like, um, I don't like the taste of water. Okay, so we're going to figure out how can you like the
Why?
taste of
Exactly.
water, or they have these other addictions, and like how can we trade up, right? How can we crowd
Right.
out some of the junk food?
Right.
Or sometimes it's the stress that we have to manage. And so
Yes.
their unique circumstances. I know when I was helping clients, some of them would be nurses, right? So we'd have a schedule, but then they would be working 12-hour shifts. So I had a kind of plan, but we had to adjust it given, okay, like what is the circumstance? Or they'd like to do it, but their spouse or their kids are like, picky
Right.
eaters or wanting the junk. And so like how do you navigate that? And it's
Right.
and they don't want to make 50 meals and things like that. So yeah, it's like getting to like, you go according to the plan, and then where do we have some resistance here, and then how do we overcome that resistance so that you can get the desired result. So like, yeah, I think,
Right.
and that's really, and I think it is that customization, because
Yes.
we are all unique. And so, for example, I personally get sick with avocado and broccoli. And I have videos about how healthy those are. Those are superfoods, they are wonderful. But my body says no. My body
Right.
tells me something else, and it bloats
Right.
up and so on. And so I used to try to make myself eat those foods because they're healthy. Well, it
Right.
might be super, but not super for me right now. And
Right.
and I also have come to learn that it changes. Like there was a time when I could eat
Mhm.
broccoli, then I couldn't, then I could again. And so in small doses. So I think it's really, that's where the health coach really
Yes.
comes in, where you can really kind of get in there close, get under the hood and kind of take a look and see like,
Right.
okay, what's going on for you? I'm like, why are all those diets you've tried not working? Let's look at
Right.
why is that not working? Why, what are we currently doing? Okay. And then you can kind of really do a really nice assessment. And I'm like, oh, like from your perspective, knowing the solution, you're like, here's what we need to swap out. Did you know this, whatever the thing is? Did you know
Right.
pulling all-nighters and that sleep deprivation increases cortisol, increases belly fat? It's not actually about your nutrition at all. It's about your sleep that we have to deal with, and those kind of
Right.
things. So yeah,
Right.
and I think that's the value of coaching. What do you like best about being a health coach? What is your favorite part? Having had many roles, what's your favorite part of being a health coach?
Well, a couple things. Personally, I would say I love working for myself. I love being my own boss. I just recently started my own business, so I am now a CEO. So I love my title,
Yeah.
but I love that. I love working for myself, scheduling my own hours. So that's personally. Um, with my clients, I just love being able to help these women who have struggled, because I don't want them to have to go through everything that I went through. I want to show them that there is a better way to get there. So just the breakthrough moments that they have, the aha moments that they have, the confidence I see that grows within them over the time that we work together, all like great moments that really make me feel proud to be a coach.
Yeah, I love it. Um, we'll circle back to your journey. I'm gonna what when you're talking about that, it makes me think about, give some examples of like when you're helping people with one thing. It's not uncommon that what now if you're just slapping a band-aid on, then you're just gonna band-aid that, and or if it's a pill, then we might have some side effects that. But when you get to the root cause and you get right down to that, it is not uncommon that there's some spin-off benefits. So tell me about like these are my favorite stories to go over, but tell me about a client or two of yours that came to you for one thing, but then when because you got to the root cause, did it the way that you do it through your embrace wellness philosophy, and what were some of the spin-off benefits, the ripples that came as a result of that?
Yeah. So a couple things. One is, I think, most of my clients come to me to lose weight,
Yeah.
and they do lose weight. One particular one, is maybe 10 weeks in and is already down 15 pounds. Um, in conversations that we've had, I mean, in addition to losing that weight, she's sleeping better. She has more energy. She is has always exercised, but all of a sudden she just feels stronger, and that's amazing to hear her say that. Um, and she that's fitting into her jeans. I pulled out a pair of jeans that I haven't been able to wear in I don't know, a couple of years now, and actually put those jeans on and just felt great about herself. Um, so that I think is a great story. Also, in thinking of her, she just making healthier choices. Um, like that's like a revelation for her, right? Instead of reaching for the chips, she's reaching for some carrots. I mean, it's just something that like is just becoming more natural for her now. So that's good. Another client I work with come to mind is in addition is now sleeping better. She's this client has lost 18 pounds, um, sleeping better. She was having hip problems when we first started, and now she's out playing pickleball for 3 hours. So that's like amazing, amazing results to know that she's went from not even being able to maybe play pickleball to now playing for 3 hours.
Wow.
Um, Another good story is that she had mentioned she wouldn't even want to walk by a window, shopping outside. But just recently, her mom took a picture of her. And when she looked at it, she saw some definition in her arms, and she was just like shocked at how good that she looked in that picture. So like just great, great stories to be able to know that they're not just losing weight, but there's just so many other things happening.
I love that. And like clearly making a difference. It's like soul satisfying to
Yeah.
be able to do that work. I love live for the transformations. And for you guys, it's those health transformations. And we here at the Health Professional Academy are on a mission to help this world be a healthier, happier place. But we now do that by supporting health coaches, get their businesses up and running, their practices up and running, giving them the tools, the supports. I say, you bring the heart and we bring the system so that you can have the purpose driven business of your dreams. Tell us a little bit, go back to before working with the Health Professional Academy, and before you had these clients, before you were able to make a difference in their lives, what were some of the things that you might have been struggling with or looking for help with? And you come from an executive background, you know kind of how, like, hey, if I gotta, there's going to be some steps, we like structure. This is a new world. I don't know what I'm doing. I remember Sherry said, like, I don't know how to structure any of this. But for you specifically, if you can remember back, what were you looking for? What were you kind of struggling with, or what were you looking for help with?
Everything. I mean, honestly, just I think just beginning with one, like who do I want to serve? I mean, I thought I had an idea who I wanted to serve, but working with the Health Academy, just like really narrowing down my niche, right? Like narrowing down my audience. And I will help everybody. Um, Being able to help women, over 50 really is what I'm kind of geared towards. Coming up with the business plan, thinking about the hours I wanted to work, and then wanted to keep time for myself and my family and my friends, right? Like just juggling all of that. And then once I get my clients, what do I do with my clients?
Right.
Right. I mean, all these things were struggling, like going around my head, swirling, but never just able to put it all together. So it's been, a phenomenal time with you helping me understand one, my business, the hours I need to put in, and then how to attract my clients. And
Yeah.
then once I get my clients, what to do with them.
Yeah, and yeah, to
Yeah.
support them to get really great results. And I just love
Yeah.
your story and how, like, what we're really doing here is alchemizing pain into purpose, like in that struggle, whether it's health pain or like the pain of starting a business, and really, leading with love and having that soul satisfying career. And really, the steps are in this book, Six Figure Health Coach. And do you remember how you found me?
I think on Facebook. And then I did some research. I read both your books.
So if people are wondering, like, hey, I want to be able to carve out my niche and find who am I meant to serve and how would I structure it? I'm going to put a link to a free copy of Six Figure Health Coach in the description below so that you can grab it. My gift to you, I want to help as many of you as possible get your gifts out there. I can't work with everybody closely, but I certainly want to help everybody, as many people as I can. So definitely take a look at that. What do you think was the most important factor in you being able to attract these clients and serve them? Was it like having confidence? Was it having a niche so that knowing how to articulate what you did? What do you think was really helped you attract these clients so that you can serve them and really help them get these tremendous results?
I think the niche, and then I think that obviously definitely was one of the most important things. But also I think just giving me the confidence to be able to support these women. Like when you start out, you're not really sure. And then there's probably still times along the line that you're still not really sure. But every time you work with a client and you see transformation and you see these women and knowing that this is something that's going to last, and it's not going to be a short term yo-yo diet, like that's over with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, like that that's been the confidence has been a great confidence
Yeah. And
builder.
I feel like, there's such parallels. Like we see people struggling with their weight, let's say, and trying all sorts of things. Like your clients struggled for years before, boom, lost 15 pounds, lost 18 pounds. So they were struggling in the dark, trying different things, but it's just doing kind of the same thing over and over. And like something's missing, there's a missing link there. And so being able to struggle, as soon as you give that structure and you say, okay, don't worry, I know exactly what to do. I'm going to hold your hand. I've been through this path and I can help you. And there's something really great about being the beacon, like after you've gone through something, being the beacon to guide others. And likewise, I feel the same thing about helping health coaches create successful, soul satisfying practices. It's like I went through it the hard way. And so I'm like, okay, we got the path. I can, even though you struggled for years and you haven't been able to get anywhere, I know the path. Let's hold your hand and walk through it. And I think that that's uh, tremendously rewarding as a coach. I'm a coach, you're a coach. Like it's tremendously rewarding, and it's a win all the way around. Because one of the things that I know that when you customize what you do for your clients is, and it's one of the things, the philosophies that we teach is, you know, deliver excellent results. Like excellence is the strategy. We're not going to trade time for money because that's going to burn you out. And then how do we know the person got anything for that? Like they don't want to just have the time in, they want results in. And people are spending the money anyways, right? So why not do it so that we can get results and really looking at, okay, for this person, 100% committed, how do I get them the best results? That's been the premise at the core of what's really helped our health coaches really create these amazing practices that feel really good to be able to show up in that way. And I think I just see the direct parallel, you know. And then having said that, it can be frustrating when people kind of, sort of, kind of know what you do, but don't really know what you do. And um, and I see that in my business, and I know that you see that with weight loss, with the subject of weight loss. And there are so many get rich quick schemes out there, and there are so many lose weight quick schemes out there, and people can get really lost. And tremendous compassion for people who they are there, because we're all just doing the best we can with where they are with what we got, right? We're doing it. I'm doing it. You're doing it. Your parents tried the best they had, but then when we know better, they can do better. But what would you say are some of the, uh, from your perspective, of somebody who helps women over 50 lose weight, get their energy back, get their sleep back, and then have all these spin off benefits? what would you say is one of those like just like traps that you see from your perspective uh for people that that are trying it another way, and any concerns that you have about some of that, of how you're like, just let them
Yeah.
know it could be a better way, and here's an opportunity, share how it could be a better way.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That's a great question. I'd love to answer it. So I think just recently with the new GLP-1 shot, I think about that all the time, and I know some people that are on that shot, and they think maybe that is the best thing for them, but when I think through, like at this point, we really don't know the long term effects of what the shot is going to do, and I understand that some people might think this is the best, but when I think through that, there are so many other things that I think we can do to help them lose weight that can be more transformative.
Yeah, and
So
sustainable,
it's
and
sustainable.
sustainable. Because yeah,
Yeah.
because what
Yeah.
happens when we stop, right? And
Right.
the thing as a medical doctor for 25 years, the thing that I realized, and it took me decades, because I always thought, well, the doctors know the answer, and before I was one, and if there's food in the supermarket, it's healthy. Otherwise, they wouldn't package it and sell it as food. And I'm like, if they're offering you something, it must be safe. None of that is actually true. The only thing we know is something that's offered you is not going to immediately, instantly kill you. That's all we know. That's all we know. Because if it instantly killed you, we'd pull it from the shelves. But the slow burn, which is what most of the food in the grocery stores, in many grocery stores is, uh,
Mhm.
gosh, right? Like you don't know until, and your parents are an example.
Right.
My family, so many, and we are, and so we're all lab rats. And like
Yeah.
when I realized, I can remember hearing way back, so as a radiologist, and I remember hearing about Runkin, who like really is the father of radiology, and he's the one who like looked at, hey, we can use X-rays to see through bones, and see through skin and see what's going on. And so certainly my entire career there was a diagnostic advantage, but when we know better, we can do better. And he used to, as he was experimenting with this new technology, he would x-ray his wife's hand like daily. And then she got cancer. Now, he didn't try to give his wife cancer, and he was like well meaning as he was, but when we know better, we can do better. And even well into using x-rays for the longest time at the beginning, sort of when my mom was younger, sort of generation, whatever that is, they used to x-ray people's feet as a gimmick to determine what shoe size you should have. So the risk benefit there way off, right? But they didn't think there were any risks to it. And
Right.
now we would just be like, what? Like, no, like that's crazy. But those things are still being played out. And I think you're right. Like, we really don't know the long-term benefits. But the thing is, we already know there's short-term risks. We already
Right.
know about the GI aspects. Pancreatitis, man, you do not want to get pancreatitis. Like, that's not worth it. And
Right.
honestly, what it speaks to is how many people are desperate for a solution. And my heart goes
Right.
out because I was that person, you were that person. And so
Right.
we know. And if we don't know that we can do anything about it, and hey, if you hadn't gone to become a health coach, fitness coach, crack the code, look at gut health, look at stress, the role of stress, role of hormones, if you didn't learn all those things, and the bio individuality and all those, if you didn't really learn all of that, and you were still carrying, an extra 30 pounds, you probably do it too, because
Right.
it's like you tried all these other things and you're
Right.
desperate. What are you going to do? And so I
Right.
think, from my perspective, the best that we can do is just shine our light, and just
Yes.
and be an example, and like support them, if people are wanting, because it's when it's a band-aid solution. And I see that in people trying to go their health coaching practices, they think the answer is in a website or a logo or a credential or another certification or a social media tactic and trend, and that's never it. We have clients who are earning six figures. They don't even have a social media account. So that it's not, they don't have any followers. They're not posting any times a day. And yet, but they are doing the work that they love. So, but that's because we get to the root cause of focusing, like you were sharing earlier, narrowing in on who is that niche, what's the
Yep.
problem that they have, what is the solution that they're wanting, and how can I deliver the most excellent results with care, and boom, everything changes. So
Yes.
I just see that corollary, and I know that you're immersed in that world,
Yes.
and we'll see, and like everybody will always get the consequences of their choices, and we all have choices, and like my motto is be good for you, and
Right.
and whatever that is, whether it's building a business, or improving your health. And
Right.
hey, I'm not to say that I know all the answers. I'm not yours. I know you're not saying you got a crystal ball, know all the answers too. But we have
Right.
tried a path, you for your health, me for my business, and we've said, okay, there is a better way. Here's the
Yes.
light switch, turn it
Right.
on, right? And
Right.
so then just, leading out to those people who are wanting help, and yeah, and just focus on the ones who are wanting help. And
Right.
everybody comes to it in their own time, and I
Right.
think that's where we have to let, if we can't, especially like with your kids or family or spouse, you can't force them to be healthy.
Right.
They
Right.
they have to want it, because it's not going to
Right.
work if you're telling them what to do. And
Right. Right.
so,
Right.
yeah. Anything
Yep.
else you wanted to add to that at all, Terry?
Yeah, no, in fact, I mean, everything you said was just perfect. I think when I think through to that, and like I feel like it's a lot of mindset, and there's more to it than just dropping those pounds, right? And so, yeah, you can drop the pounds, but then, are you still loving yourself after you drop that weight, right? I mean,
And
maybe
the
not.
inflammation, like you were saying, this the woman who your client who had the hip pain, but then is
Right.
now able to, like,
Right.
so if you're helping them lose weight in an anti-inflammatory way, well, when we get down
Right.
that inflammation, we get rid of that hip inflammation.
Right.
Now you can play
Right.
pickleball. But if we just
Right.
lost weight, or if we just did surgery to lop off pounds, for example, still got the
Right.
inflammation, and
Right.
so those joint
Right.
pains are still there. Yeah,
Right.
it's so
And you're
true.
and you're and you're losing weight, but all along with your weight goes your muscle. So there's just so much more to it, right? So
And I
yeah,
don't know how
yeah,
discriminatory it is, right? Losing fat
right,
everywhere, and but also losing muscle too,
right, right.
for me, that's my biggest potential concern is what does it do to the, or because we need fat. I mean, our brain fat, right? We need fat.
Yes,
We're
yes,
all a bunch of fatheads. Our hormones,
yes,
fat. It's
right,
fat. There's so many reasons why we need fat on our body, but lean in the right amount, and so on and so on.
yes,
And
yeah,
but it's certainly a complex issue. But I like how
it
you've been able
is.
to cut through the noise, support people with love and genuineness
Right,
and
mm,
expertise, just the ones who are wanting your help. And I think
right,
that's fantastic. Uh,
right,
Terry,
yes.
where can people get in touch with you if you're like, hey, if they're like, I want to talk to you further about this, explore it. I have, like, what about this? What do you think of that? Or I've been struggling for years, or I got hip pain, or I'm having trouble sleeping, whatever it is. How could they reach out to you?
So a couple things. One, they can reach me on my website, which is Embrace Wellness with Terry, and that's TERRI.com. And then also they can reach me on Instagram at Embrace Wellness with Terry, at Embrace Wellness with Terry. And then third, they can reach me on Facebook under Terry Scrovano.
Awesome. And that's so Terry with an I, and then
Yes,
Scrivano, Scrivano, correct?
correct.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
There, I passed my
Perfect.
spelling bee.
Yes, very good.
I love it.
Great.
And yeah, definitely reach out to Terry. She is phenomenal. She's the real deal. It's an absolute pleasure to see the work that she's done and how she's been able to go from her corporate career to create this new fulfilling life. And if you are looking at creating your health coaching practice and you're like, how do I get those first few clients? I would like to know how I could help people and like Terry's doing. I got a video here on how to find your first clients, the top 10 tips. So, with that, have a fantastic week, everyone. Thank you, Terry. And everyone, be good for you.